Okay, welcome back to the Rock and Roll. And as promised and as advertised today, Billy P is back. And I called him today and I said, listen, we got some things we got to talk about and stuff he doesn't even know. We don't even have an agenda. I'm just going to throw it at him and like we're at a sports bar. I guess
Yep.
that's kind of our gimmick, man. But I'll start with, before we get into the stuff that people are whining and crying about, the press conference today. I don't know if you caught it or saw any of the transcript.
Yeah, I caught more of Tony White's than I did Gus Malzahn's.
Smart.
It's a lot of what we had talked about the last time I was on, especially Tony White, multiple fronts, and he kind of threw shade at Fuller a little bit,
Yep.
which I think that's how we've all felt the last 4 or 5 years. Even when we had a good defense, it was just so predictable. So I did see a lot of that. I didn't catch all of Gus Malzahn's. I kind of caught the
Yeah.
highlights of it.
He had to dodge some stray bullets today, Gus.
Yeah. Well,
They brought up Auburn. They brought up the national title game, which to me was kind of stupid.
everybody keeps poking fun at it. Like even I watched
Yeah,
the chant summary of it, and it's like leave the guy alone, man. Like
it was
he's
11
just
years ago.
yeah,
Like he's gonna say, "Yeah, we stole their plays. We had all their signals. It just darn it at the end."
right.
He was nice about it. He was funny, and he said, "I have to walk by that picture every day now."
Yeah,
But I
that's
thought
kind
that
of
was
great of
stupid.
him. But hey, motivation to get back in the end zone in a national title
Yeah,
game. So
and he said what we talked about of the game has changed. I
right,
love coaching ball.
yeah. The one thing he did say that I think everybody wanted to hear, it was very clear he's calling the plays.
Oh yeah.
There's no, it's his show to run. So that was laid to rest right out the gate.
I like that, and then I liked stuff we talked about. It seems like it comes full circle. Was they asked him about the game plan? And he goes, "No, I'll work with Coach Norvell." They said you and Coach Norvell, and he goes, "And Herb Hand."
Right.
He said, "Coach Hand will be in there," which I don't know if that was the case before or how things were before. Obviously, Atkins was there,
Well, and I
but
feel
to
like
have three minds like that working is a great thing.
that's how it should go. I don't know if you've ever watched A Football Life with the Bill Belichick version.
No, what did he do today?
It's such a all he would do is like the first 15 minutes of his little staff meetings. He
Mhm.
would just in the typical Bill Belichick way be like, "So the tight end's really good. We're going to take him away, right?" And then from that guidance, the defense would scurry around and make sure the other player's best player, if it was their tight end, they eliminated him from the game plan. So it's this high level approach that a
Mhm.
head coach is supposed to have, and then your coordinators execute what you see for a vision for that week. So I mean that's how I'd like to see it go because I still think Norvell has a really brilliant offensive mind. I
Mhm.
just think he's been kind of shouldering the weight of everything
Right.
for a very long time. Now if he could take a step back and have big picture view of the game plan and let Gus and the coordinators execute that game plan in his vision, it could work. And then he can hit the trail and recruit.
Right, and deal with, for example, NIL budget and that stuff. That stuff, like Gus said, I don't want to deal with that anymore. He didn't say those words, but 4 times he must have said, "Yeah, me and Coach Norvell work together. Yeah, we
Right.
share a lot of the same philosophies." I think Norvell's offense, he predicated it off Gus, but he evolved it with his passing scheme. So
Right.
it'll be nice to see it come together. He seemed really happy to be there. Now, Tony White blew me away today. And I
Amazing.
understand everybody wins a press conference. When have you ever said, "I'm excited about a hire," and then I saw the press conference and changed my mind? They maybe gave him some talking points when he took the shot at Fuller. They said fans
Well,
were tired of the third and Fuller and Ben don't break.
yeah, in between, so everything he said in the press conference is everything that shows up on film. I mean, we talked about
Mhm.
a lot of those points, and I really do love it. And the one thing he said that we talked about and shows up in film is he's not just a 3-3-5. He does come out a lot of times, especially when it calls for it, with a four-man front. Sometimes he has two down linemen. It's whatever he feels there's a vulnerability in the offense that he can take advantage, he's going to implement it. And more importantly, he's not going to do the same thing on back-to-back series. He never does. Not in any of the film I've watched will you see the same front, the same look on back-to-back drives. It's great. I don't know why more coaches don't do it.
No, I agree, and he stressed that, and he said something today that had me like almost doing jumping jacks. I was so excited when he said, "If you ain't physical during the week, I don't care how physically you talk about being. You ain't going to be physical in the game."
Yeah. Well, then
He
that's
sounded
all,
like a head coach up there. I felt like it was a head coach doing a press conference.
and
Well,
that's something I think Norvell has had, because Fuller made almost jabs at Norvell the last few years
Really?
about not being physical in practice, almost like he was handcuffed. There were times where he was like, well, we don't really tackle that much. And he would do it with like a dismissive approach,
Yeah.
like it wasn't his call. Nick Saban, and I know Nick Saban has a stable of 5 stars, so if a guy goes down, it's next man up. But Nick Saban would run his practices in an extremely physical manner. If you got
I
hurt,
heard he didn't. He didn't. No, they never tackled to the ground.
no, but it was their training camps and their lead
Yeah.
up to the season were brutal. And you would hear linebackers go down all the time, but they hit each other.
Yeah.
They would run scrimmages
In the
because
season, they wouldn't tackle to the ground.
in a season they would lighten up, but
Because that's where Jimbo got that principle from.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember the story about Jimbo with Mickey Andrews when he was like, "Yeah, we shouldn't tackle to the ground. We did it. We didn't do that at LSU." And
yeah, but they would scrimmage relatively live.
Yeah.
And had tackling drills. And I don't know how much of that we were doing, but Tony White emphasized we're going to be physical in practice. And yeah, we're going to have more injuries, but we're going to be physical. So I'll take it. You got to take the good with the bad there.
And when he talked about he talked about being more physical when he said these teams are too smart to run the same defense every play every week. And I was like rejoicing. I'm like, he gets it. I thought it was like to me, he's a head coach. Like I really think he is. I know he's never been one per se, but he was like a head coach. He's like a head coach. It reminded me of Jimbo at his first press conference at Florida State. And we were like, this is more than an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, if he ends up a head coach, we will get what we've been wanting, because that means he killed it here. And I think all signs point towards that. I mean, we got to get some we kind of really have to revamp what the skill set is up front, which has already started. I mean, you've seen the D linemen hit the portal. It's going to be a new look. It looks like we're going after both edges that played with him in Nebraska.
Yeah.
We'll probably get one. I don't know if we'll get both. That would be amazing.
One of them re-entered the portal. I don't know if that was a D tackle or not. Not re-entered, but went back to Nebraska. Davis.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought he was
like an hour or two ago. He said he's staying.
Oh, okay, that's.
But those edges is the ones we need. James Williams, like Terrence Knighton, is like a father figure to that kid.
Yeah, he's coming.
He's coming. I mean, I don't want to say that, but randomly, because Terrence Knighton, I don't know if you're on X ever.
Mm-mm.
He gets it there, and he'll drop subtle hints. He'll do little things that players love. But he wrote sack, and that was a nickname for James Williams.
Yeah,
he randomly did that.
That is all the guys that played for Tony, that front six, if you want to call it that, they knew the scheme and they played it well. They were not outclassing Ohio State, but that defense gave Ohio State fits.
Yeah.
So
what they did to Colorado, we talked about that. Look what they did to Iowa and Minnesota and those teams.
And the common theme outside of multiple fronts was you rarely saw a missed assignment. If they got beat, it was actually because of a lack of talent. Which, okay, I think we definitely have an upgraded skill set on the back end with our secondary, which should allow him to be more aggressive. As bad as we were this year, it was rare to see a guy get beat one-on-one deep down the field where there's 10 yards of separation. That happened more often on when we were a good team. It didn't happen. Sometimes by necessity, because Boston College just ran the ball down our throat and didn't need to do that. There was some wheel routes that beat linebackers, but in terms of like one of our corners just on an island getting toasted, it didn't happen. So
no, he's got a lot of talent to work with there.
Ton.
And he's talked about that. I like the idea that we have a true safeties coach now.
Right.
Because for his defense, the safeties I heard are asked to do a lot.
So is Surtain staying?
That's the word. I mean, that the kid who's, I hate to say kid, the young man who switched from Auburn to Florida State.
Yeah.
Said like Pat Surtain's the man, and that's why I came.
That's amazing, because the biggest change in our secondary play, we used to get flagged for pass interference. I don't know why teams didn't just throw it up on us sometimes. What Surtain has done in our secondary, I don't know what little nuances he's teaching, but we don't get flagged as often. I mean, everyone gets flagged now and then, but it used to be every time there was a deep ball, we were either burnt, flagged, or they dropped it and our receiver would get our corner would get up and celebrate like he did something anyways. It was awful to
And the
watch.
refs aren't always on our side either.
Right. But
Not
I
to
mean,
play that card, but
we play
Pat
clean.
is as good a technician as there was in the NFL.
We play clean on the back end,
Yeah,
which is great.
and Pat learned how to coach it here. He learned. I think he was in the staff for the Dolphins for a bit
Well, I mean, he was
as a coach
amazing.
before he went to Heritage.
He was just an amazing player with the Dolphins. Him
Oh,
and
fantastic!
Sam Madison they were awesome to watch.
Oh, I remember like it was yesterday.
So he just knows how to get in the hip pocket of a receiver,
Mm.
not draw a flag, and be annoying. That's what it's about. And our players get their heads or little shit, like getting your head around at the right moment. So we do that well. So I'm glad if he does stay, that's a huge plus because I just think it's going to let Tony White really get a lot more aggressive than he already naturally is up front, especially on 3rd and longs.
And Cooper is one of his guys, and really praised him today. Like I don't care why he didn't coach at Nebraska this year, if that's the truth. I don't care. I really don't. Like we were 2-10 this year. Like I'm not looking for feel good stories.
Well,
same with Croman Hawk. Like I'm not looking for a feel good story here.
let's hope he's not looking for a feel good story with our student body because that's the rumor.
That is the exact rumor.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be some. Yeah.
Just keep
they know about it. They didn't know about it with Pruitt till after he got there.
So he got his hand slapped. Hopefully he learns his lesson.
Yeah. I'm not worried about that, man.
Yeah.
And the guy's a recruiting junkie. Like they said, if he's not coaching, he's studying tape. I mean, the fact that you were one of the 2 guys that Matt Rule took with him right away to Carolina.
Right.
And then immediately brought him to Nebraska.
Right.
I think he was with him at Baylor too. And brought him to the Carolina Panthers because he loved his evaluation ability.
Yeah.
And then brought him to Nebraska right away. But he became so tight with Tony, I guess he wanted – well, he probably just wanted to come back to Florida too. He's a South Florida guy.
Hopefully he just didn't want to get back on a beautiful campus like Tallahassee, but we'll see. Across the board, I think all of our assistant coaching hires have been really solid. When we got the O-line coach we wanted, that's been about as good as it could have possibly been in the offseason. The transfer portal stuff, I think the only one that bothers me, obviously, and I think it bothers everybody, everyone's got an opinion on it, is Croman Hawk.
Yeah,
I just don't know. Like if I were Norvell, I would have gone all in with the group of quarterbacks that we have. When you just look at the skill set, Croman Hawk can run and he can throw. He was a 18-year-old kid. And I really think in off season with the number ones would have done him really well. The challenge with that is I don't know if you name Luke the starter or he gets all the ones and you lose the other 2 kids, you have no backup. And what transfer is going to come in to play backup?
No, I agree.
I don't know if they were caught in that mess. And if they bring in,
and we don't know his NIL if that's true or not.
It's pretty consistent reporting on it.
Yeah.
But also, to me, he's worth the NIL. He's going to get it.
I don't think he showed he was worth 7 figures this year.
Yeah,
DJ Lagway comes to you and asks for that kind of money. I could see why.
So the thing is with quarterbacks in college, as much as people want to complain about how much money a kid is making, we didn't have a quarterback this year, and we went 2-10. They're underpaid. Yeah. I know that sounds nuts. Miami had a quarterback, and they went 10-2. That was not a good Miami football team. These kids are underpaid. So whether you have a gripe with an 18-year-old making $1.2 million,
I don't if he's earned it or he shows he didn't do anything this year to make me say we got to keep him at all costs.
He earned it because he was a borderline 5-star / 4-star, and in the business of college football, that garners a certain amount of money, whether it's proven or not. Other kids are getting it. The position itself is so valuable to an entire. There's a whole university propped up on the importance of that one position. And when you break it down even further, let's say he was getting $800,000 and he wanted 1.2. You're going to let him go for $400,000.
Was he going to be your starter this year?
Doesn't matter.
I think it does. I think it does because he's still a project, and I don't think he wanted a redshirt this year.
I think if it were when so
I
much
don't think
rides,
honestly, I'll say it from the Norvell offense and the Norvell play calling goggles. Yeah, this hurts horribly. From Malzahn's offense and how he runs his offense, I don't think it's that big a deal.
but the kid
I
can
don't
run.
think he fits Malzahn's offense.
I think he's got
Which is
every
fine.
skill that you want. So like if it were my money, I would have paid him and a transfer, and that's just what the position garners, and that's
Which they offered. I mean, it wasn't like they told him no,
why
but we
it
don't know if it's true or not. I mean,
it sounds like they
it's
didn't
pretty
do.
honorable, and the family's very honorable. So I don't think they just held Florida State try to hold them hostage.
It
But,
sounds like he wanted to get into the seven figures, and we didn't want to.
and it sounds like also it's the system more that if I'm going to stay here and take this risk in my career with a coach I didn't sign up to play for, I want to be compensated for it.
If it's the system, and that's why I made the decision, I'm fine with it.
That's kind of what he said in his Instagram post.
But if we made the decision, we don't want to pay you, that is a mistake.
Yeah.
Because you have a
We've
whole
been held hostage by these players and paid them, and we got burned.
But there's one position where schools aren't even throwing enough money at it. Look what happened to Michigan this year. That actually was a good football team, and Orgy can't throw the football. He literally can't complete a to a tight end. He airmails.
Right, but they fixed that. They're paying $5 to $7 million, whatever.
And that kid hasn't earned a darn thing yet. He hasn't even earned
a
high school degree.
I think that's ridiculous.
So I just
they got Jeffrey Ellison backing that up. Like, we can't the second richest guy in the world decides he wants a quarterback to go to Michigan. He's probably going to end up there.
But what we could have controlled is, let's say he wanted 1.4, you give it to him, and you go out and get Castellanos.
Yeah, you still would have done Castellanos.
I don't know,
but I get Castellanos either way. I think
I'm saying we should have done both, and I don't care.
I think we tried. I think it just
not tried. I think we tried. I think it's a miss. I think it's a mistake.
It's unfortunate that he left, but for Gus's offense, I think honestly, and I could be wrong, but in time, I think we have a quarterback on the roster now who fits Gus's offense 10 times better than Luke.
I hope he does. Well,
Trevor Jackson.
He's in the portal though, isn't he?
No, Trevor. Oh, Luke.
No, I thought he went too.
No, Trevor's still there, and I think Trevor. He's so athletic, and that's what Gus needs. Gus's offense is not predicated on you got to be a Tom Brady back there slinging it. You got to be athletic, move, and then throw when you have to.
Yeah, I just
Trevor fits that. Castellanos fits that.
Well, you never if you have a guy who can sling it, it helps every offense. Like I don't know.
I'm not saying they can't throw. They shouldn't be able to throw, but it's not the primary.
Sure. It's going to be 100% run first offense, but in college,
and especially downhill with the running backs. And Gus said that today.
And don't we've got
you have to be downhill running first and then set everything up.
And we've got a really highly recruited or highly rated quarterback in the 2026 cycle, don't we?
Smigel.
Yeah. Where's he?
He's from California. It's going to be hard to keep him.
So it's almost a same scenario.
No, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm looking this now through the Malzahn Gus lenses. Those were guys who committed basically to Norvell in that offense.
Yeah.
Gus has to have say in what he wants. If Gus can tell Mike and say, this kid isn't for me, Mike has to win at all costs this year. He cannot think about 26.
So that's my fear.
That's why you can't pay Luke all this money to hopefully be the guy in 26.
That's what I actually think is the deciding factor, is that unfortunately they don't have enough time to dedicate to 3 years down the road right now. We've got to get to 9-3, 10-2 next year, and a really fast running quarterback with this offense I feel they can just makeshift 9 to 10 wins, which they probably can if we can play.
And Gus says I had the kid for a year at UCF.
Yeah.
So he knows me pretty decently.
Yeah.
So it's not as much of a learning curve for Castellanos. I'm not saying Castellanos is better than Luke. I think for Gus's system and what we need right now, I don't hate it.
So there's a lot of
popular thing to rip it.
Well, to be clear, I really do like Castellanos. I don't want to act like I think that's not a good approach. Yeah. I think it's foolish if we let Luke go over purely money. That's silly. If it was a system thing where Luke didn't feel comfortable, that's his decision. I think,
And there's going to be some ramifications for Luke. I'm sorry. There's going to be some ramifications. The kid was extremely popular on the team.
yeah,
You don't know if some kids are going to say, that was my quarterback. That's the guy who
Yeah.
helped me come here.
yeah,
You don't know. And listen, at this point, I don't care.
yeah.
We were 2-10 last year. Like, I don't care. I was like that with Luke. I was bummed about Marvin Jones Jr. today. I know his dad,
I wasn't.
but I
Chacho.
don't think he fits Tony White's system.
I don't think he
Tony needs
fits.
big, bruising, bad. You know what?
I don't think he
That's not
fits.
Marvin.
I don't think he fits the game of football. He doesn't look like he wants to play. He's got all the tools.
Yeah.
I mentioned it to you, like at the beginning of the season at the bar. I know it's silly. I'll watch like the Florida State practice
Not silly.
sometimes,
It's not silly.
and they'll just show the kids walking out in the field. He doesn't want to be there. I don't think he wants to play football.
And
He's a
body
big, fast kid, and I think he's got all these expectations. He's like, yeah, I'll do it, man. But it's not. You can just tell by his body language, this isn't really his thing. So I don't mind seeing him go at all.
And I also say, if you're not a fit for the new coach, then you know what? I want these coaches to come in and say, I need to get my guys.
Yeah.
You want me to operate at peak efficiency or close to it the first year? Because you're not going to get it the first year. This is what I need.
Yeah.
You can't tell these guys. Those are basically two head coaches, like we said, you brought in. Imagine saying, all right, these are the guys you're going to have to work with and make it work.
Yeah.
That's not the case. That's why I don't care about – Null fans are so in there. You know, you talked about social media. You've talked about it, Billy, how Null fans could be the worst on social media.
We've become – well, and I
think that whining fan base. We were a 2-win team this year. We should be happy with these coaches. But
well,
they're crying over Castellanos, not because we're getting him. Well, maybe a little bit. But because of the last 2 games he sat out for PC. This is a different era in college football. These kids are getting paid. We don't know what happened with him and Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien told Jalen Milroe, you're not a quarterback.
Well, I didn't realize he got hurt.
Yeah.
And then something happened.
With his NIL, something.
Yeah, but if I'm him and I'm hurt and I'm having a disagreement with a coach and it's about my injury, that may not be on Castellanos. Like we don't know what happened.
We weren't there.
Yeah.
People who were prideful people who were fans of football from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s are saying you quit on your team. You don't know if they quit on him.
Right.
So that's why I'm sure Florida State's going to ask him that first thing on his visit today. He's there today.
Yeah.
And they should. But Bill O'Brien has a history of driving quarterbacks nuts.
Right. Driving players nuts.
You're right. And when he was with Hapley, my man, John, good to hear you, buddy. Okay, he's injury prone. Everybody's injury prone.
So he got hurt this year.
Yeah.
The year prior, played the whole season.
Thank you, KH.
Say that again?
Oh, KH, he's injury prone.
Right, but so he got hurt this year. Last year, he played the whole season.
Yeah,
and the year before that, he was a freshman.
He's got 2 more years of eligibility. So, yeah, you're right.
So he redshirted.
He redshirted UCF and then went to Boston College for 2 years.
Right, so I don't know if it's injury prone. He played a full season, and then this year he made it through, 9 games, 8 games?
Yeah, and we're not asking him to take us to a national title next year.
Well, we're going to ask him to run the ball out.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm talking about in terms of wins.
Yeah.
We just have – if we can get him for 7, 8 – and we got him for – if he comes, Caden Salter – yeah, I agree, but I don't think we were going to get him.
You know the one thing that everyone's –
I agree, Cage.
Everyone is getting on Castellanos' ability to throw. So I watched some of the game film from this year. Last year he did really well, but this year I don't see where he can't throw. I think he's a pretty accurate thrower of the ball. He ran a very gimmicky offense, so it was very misdirection.
Kind of what we're gonna do now.
Scheme, almost every opening was already schemed. So he doesn't get into a traditional drop back. I'm going to go through a progression of reads. I'm going to fake it here. I have the option to run, and the running back who I just faked it to is running a wheel route, and I'm going to hit him. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of offense. But he was hitting open guys. I didn't see an accuracy problem. I didn't see an arm strength.
And if Gus thought he was a problem in the locker room his 1 year at UCF, he wouldn't have wanted him here.
Right.
So that's why I think people are really overreacting on this one.
I like the
I don't
Castellanos.
think Luke is ready to be the starter next year.
I just don't think, again, in an ideal world, you do both. And if we made that decision
They
because
tried. They tried. I don't think it worked for Luke.
I don't know if it was purely Luke's decision, I can live with that. If we didn't give him enough money, I'm not happy with. Like, that's not a good decision.
I think it was scheme. I really think it was scheme in the new coach. Because you know what? And you know what? We can speculate all we want now. We'll see where he ends up. If he goes to a system that is a true pro style passing attack, then you could tell it was that.
I think he's going to be good. His first pass,
quarterback.
First pass was a 40-yard bomb that should have been a touchdown that hit a receiver in the chest between two.
And didn't play football quarterback till his junior year.
If he makes that catch, we're all going, holy crap.
What kid said that? If Portier catches that ball against Duke, does that change the trajectory of
it? Does.
He played
because like 3 passes later was Williams down the sideline.
Yeah,
Hakeem Williams down the sideline, and he does kind of he tried to jump over on the inside of the cornerback. If he catches that, he's gone and he drops it. So his 2 of his first 3 passes could have been a touchdown.
Because he took a lot more sacks, believe it or not, than Brock and DJ. Now I understand the offensive line was horrendous.
Yeah.
But they weren't worse for him than they were for them.
Well, and that's where
he is just, you could tell the speed of the game. He has not caught up to it yet.
But that's
not going to get fixed in this one off season.
No, I think it does. That's where going with the ones through an entire off season is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Having every rep
in the system now.
Having all of the coach's attention solely on you. I do think you're going to see a different. If he goes somewhere and he's named the starter and he gets a spring, an off season, and a training camp with the team, you're going to see a different pocket presence out of him.
Listen, I'm not happy he left. I don't think it's a bad. Listen, at the least, I hope it's just a bad PR move, or bad PR for Florida State, because we have the knock right now. Why would you go play quarterback at Florida State?
Yeah.
Mike has to get that stench off. And even if Castellanos delivers, it's still a transfer.
So let's talk about how it can work with Castellanos. We need 3 to 4 stud offensive linemen. If we can get that
above average.
No, studs.
You're not getting studs.
We have then what? Why are we not spending money on that?
They're not out there. They're not out. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. I swear, they're not out there. The studs don't enter the portal.
The left tackle from Vodtech, solid. Bring him in, stud. There's an interior. Yeah, he's in the portal. There's a interior lineman from Arkansas.
I'd love to get him to center, right?
Yeah, bring him in.
I can't remember.
We should be overpaying whatever their highest offer is. Give them 5% more, 10% more in here.
You're 2-10. You have to do that.
We have to.
There's a kid from Western Carolina, Derek Simmons, I think, is coming in to visit. There's a kid from UCF who knows Gus's offensive center.
Yeah, there's a dozen or more.
We're going to be getting a lot of UCF players. You'll be telling, I'm going to say his name here. You'll be telling our buddy at UCF, what's this guy like? What's that guy like? What's this guy like?
I'm tearing him a new one already. It's been good.
I can't wait to see it in person.
He's not happy, but.
Oh, really?
No, at all. I mean, they're losing a lot of.
This ties in together. So
first of all, they had a terrible season. So he thought getting into the Big 12 was going to be, they've arrived and they haven't, and the wheels are falling off a little bit. So he's a little deterred. Yeah, no,
for everybody to know, we have a friend, and especially a very close friend of Billy, UCF fan, and him and Billy, when they go at it, they go at it. And I wasn't there, but I would have loved to just be a fly on the wall at the least when we find out their head coach leaves to be our offensive coordinator.
I have a lot of fun with him about the fake national championship that they claim.
Yes.
That's kind of the root of our butting of heads.
Correct. And, he's going to deny it. But Herb Hand, the reason why it was delayed, us getting him, I'm sure, is they were kicking the tires on making him the head coach there.
Maybe.
And then Frost came back into play, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Frost is a good play for them.
Yeah.
I actually think Frost is a decent college coach. I think No one's made it work.
He knows all that stuff. That's a good thing.
And no one's made it work at Nebraska yet since who's the guy after Calhoun who won? He averaged like 9 wins a game and they fired him anyways.
Not Pelini.
Yeah. Pelini. Yeah. That guy averaged 9 wins a game through his tenure and they canned him. They have not won 9 games since.
Yeah. And I think a major reason, and I'm not saying I heard this from anybody, but I think Tony White, also left because he didn't want to deal with Matt Rule anymore.
There's a lot of that.
And that's been a story for a lot. Right. And apparently in the coaching world, Mike does have a good reputation as someone who's good to work for.
Yeah.
That could have been, people aren't giving him enough credit for that with some of these hires.
Right.
His reputation. And I'm sure he called Sexton and was like, you want me to stay at Florida State? You better get me somebody good. Because they asked Tony White, how do you know him? How long do you know him? And he was like, he gave a great answer. He was like, in this business, you're always 2 steps away from somebody knowing him. And then he said when he got there, Mike was like, oh, I called this guy about you that you know. And I called this guy and I called that guy. And he's like, how'd you know all those people I know? But him talking about Florida State, he goes, they go, what'd you learn about Florida State you didn't know? That they got this huge facility going up here that I didn't even know about.
Right.
And he talked about recruiting hard. He said, I'm not dealing with the scheme and the system for another 2-3 weeks. We're building a roster.
Right. It looked like he wanted to get out of the press conference so he could hit the recruiting trail. Yeah.
But that was the joke that they said both of them just wanted to get on the phone.
Oh, there you go. Someone just said the lineman from Arkansas is visiting. Now we're cooking with oil. That's what we need.
Wasn't he all conference?
I don't know.
Okay. Highly rated.
He's rated like the second highest interior lineman in the
But
portal.
how many kids hit the portal at Arkansas end up staying because Walmart drops them a bag?
Well, we need to start dropping back. That's a position we've got to drop bags on.
I mean, Sarah Blakely can drop some spanks, right?
Again, we go back to like these kids, what they're propping up in terms of an industry in and around Tallahassee. They're worth every penny, and we cannot go 2-10 again. So whatever Arkansas wanted to give him 10% more and get 3 to 4 offensive linemen in here and let's win 10 games. And
from what I hear, and I learned more about it, is you might have heard too. I guess next year the House settlement comes into play, where each school has $20 million to spend on a roster for sports.
Well,
and someone said, "Well, what if the NIL says we want to kick in another $30 million on top?" And they said, "No. When this starts, they're going to have to be actual legitimate deals."
Yeah, but
it's going to be a company that actually reviews the deals and say this is legit. This isn't.
It'll get shot down. So with the Supreme Court ruling the first time, if I want to give a kid money, it's not you can't take that right away from a kid just because he plays sports at a school. If I'm dumb enough to give an 18-year-old $10 million, that's my prerogative.
Right.
Nothing.
And how do you say it's not legitimate?
Nothing will ever stop Phil Knight from hiring a kid to work at Nike and never show up and get paid $1 million. So the NCAA and whoever can try and regulate that. They will lose if it's fought in court. And it might be one of those things where from a PR standpoint, they're putting the salary cap there and they're just going to look the other way. Because frankly, it's none of their business. If a private citizen wants to give another private citizen money, that's not up for the NCAA to butt their nose.
Well, that was the players' arguments in the past before NIL.
Right. So I don't see a legal way. You can't legislate that out. I think it's nice that they're going to I think it's actually going to hurt some schools more than others. Some schools don't have $20 million.
No, it's part of the House settlement. Every school will get it. And then you have to just run it like a salary cap and say, how do we want to distribute it?
We'll get it from who?
It's part of the Congress House settlement. So every school.
No, it's the school has to allocate that money for the players.
I think it's going to come from the government. They're going to try to.
That's not.
I'm going to look it up so I don't look like an idiot here, but they're saying that's why they're saying everything's going to be more on an even playing field.
I think you're going to find some schools don't have $20 million, and I don't.
Well, no, I mean it's not like Florida State. Every school's going to figure out how to work with it. It's just a matter of, in the past, even Georgia still found a way to get cars to players. Alabama still found a way.
It'll never not happen.
It'll never not happen. Exactly.
Yeah.
You just hope. I think they're going to regulate a little more like NFL, where they have to check these deals and make sure it's legit.
Sure.
I think college is going to follow that route a little.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, they can.
Again, you can't.
Hey,
The idea that NIL
contract
can
is
be
always up
regulated.
for Cage, always up for interpretation.
Well, I just because I read into what the Supreme Court ruling was on the original NIL deal, and the way what their decision was, I don't see how you could possibly overturn any type of NCAA regulation. It will get challenged and it will lose because there's this blurred line, and we think just because a kid's an athlete and whether we like it or not, someone's paying him to go to a school. That's nobody else's business. If a car dealer wants to give a kid a car, he can do that.
But
Now,
school needs to hire someone at this point. Like, I don't want Mike Norvell on the phone dealing with agents for his players. I don't. I'd rather someone at the school that's their job.
isn't that the general manager job?
No, they're in charge of like game film and saying on the phone with a player saying, "Are you interested in visiting?"
Right.
Or helping construct the roster. And I'm sure Mike says, "All right, we have a $10 million budget, make it work."
I guess I envision that is the GM's role.
It should be. Eventually, there's going to be a team that hires an NFL type person, NFL GM, and that's going to change college football somewhere.
Bill Belichick, UNC.
Crazy, huh? I think it's good. I have no problem with it.
Did you see the interview that Tom Brady, Amendola, and Gronk gave? Someone asked them if they thought Belichick would be a good college coach, and they all looked at each other, and they were like, "No." Brady would be like, his recruiting pitch is going to be like, "I guess you can come to school if you want. We don't really need you, and so let me know what you want to do."
I heard the major sticking thing in that contract is, I don't know if it happened or not, but he wants his son to be the head coach in waiting the day he takes the gig.
Yeah, and if I'm UNC, I say sure.
They did.
And if the kid,
they said they weren't opposed to it,
and then you fire him 6 months later if he's an idiot.
Yeah, and it's a
weird thing.
It keeps kids from hitting the portal.
Yeah,
he's a stopgap. It's a smart move for both sides.
UNC,
they're going to give him the Bobby Bowden treatment there. You're not like, listen, no one talks about it, but the days of the in-home visits, remember that Bobby became famous for, are done.
Right.
If early signing day is December 9th, the time that you use in January and early February to go to those houses, you're in the middle of the season.
Right.
Mike can't go to his house in the season.
Saban all but said that when giving the decision for why he decided to step down. He literally talked about him and Miss Terry bringing a bunch of recruits in for breakfast and talking about their future and how to build a skill set and value for yourself. And they were like, "Yeah, but what's our NIL deal?" And the light went on. He goes, "I don't need to be doing this anymore.
Yeah,
this isn't about this in-home visit with the breakfast. It's about where's my bag." And he's like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Alabama, so holy. But hey, man, I promise I wouldn't keep you. I kept you 8 minutes over.
All good, man.
All right, Billy. Thank you as always.
Yeah,
I'm promoting. You're going to become a regular, whether you want to or not.
Happy to do it.
Always. All right, thanks, man. Thanks for your insight as always, man. We'll talk later.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Take care, everyone. Thanks, Billy.